Now, Enlightened Christian Gathering Church pastor Sherpard Bushiri and his wife Mary were arrested on charges of fraud and money laundering on Tuesday. The couple were denied bail and are currently behind bars. Bushiri has been referred to as one of the richest religious leaders on the continent, and the ECG Church is set to boast 1 million worshippers in South Africa. To expand a little bit more on this notion, I'm joined now by Professor Derrick Mashau to speak about the fascination around prosperity gospel in South Africa. Professor Mashau, very good morning to you. Thank you for your time. We've been watching very carefully as we saw Sherpard Bushiri and his wife Mary being locked up, and they're now behind bars. They're looking to get bail, and we'll be hearing more of this case tomorrow. But I want us to speak about the fascination. We've heard of these terms, charismatic churches, and we're now learning of prosperity gospel in South Africa. What exactly is prosperity gospel?
Good morning, Mpo and the viewers at home. When we talk about prosperity gospel, it has its roots from America, with the Word and Faith movement. And at the heart of it, one sees the yearning for wealth. People are using faith instead of working hard to attain wealth. And when you check, I believe that this movement has nothing to do with Pentecostal faith, has nothing to do with charismatic faith. It is an entity on its own. It's a phenomenon that which seeks to be defined properly because it has all the features of a cult. If you check at the heart of it, you will realize that it's propagating a different gospel. It's propagating a different God. It's propagating a different spirituality, a different culture, and a different practice of what we consider to be the Christian faith.
Let's talk a little bit about the trends that we've been seeing over the past few years. I mean, moving from congregants worshipping pastors and their churches, speaking about eating grass, and you know, we've heard so much controversy around the nature of such churches, how congregants are really willing to go to extremes. I mean, we heard some of those followers of Sherpard Bushiri speaking about doing everything it takes to defend him, that he's innocent, he's a man that's changed their lives. Let's talk about changing lives and how the message is communicated to congregants who then, as you speak of a cult movement, become obliged and are willing to do all it takes, sell their houses, sell their cars, and give away their pension funds in order to be a part of this movement.
I'm saying it fits into the bill of a cult because if you check, people have replaced God with the God of somebody. So the emphasis, even among the followers, you will hear them talking about the God of measure one instead of talking about God. When you talk access to God, people think he has the powers more than the powers of Christ, because within Christianity, the door has been opened that anyone can access God at any given time from your own room, from your own space. But with this, we've witnessed that people are sure that the powers are vested in the God of measure one. And what we have witnessed is that people are not discerning. So the minute you stop discerning, you have replaced the very criteria of using the word of God as the basis of your practice. And now you believe the word of the prophet. And that is why this movement is anchored on the word, the power of the word, where people are able to instruct their bank accounts, they are able to instruct that they should have more wealth. And when you go deeper, analyzing what you're witnessing with the followers, then you realize that there are people who are kind of living under a spell whereby they are able to die for a man and not die for God.
Could you say that prosperity gospel could perhaps be a new form of colonization?
It is a new form of colonization in a way, because it feeds into the capitalist mentality, it feeds into the consumer mentality. In a way, people who embrace prosperity gospel in the manner in which we are witnessing within the Bushiri church, then you tend to realize that indeed these people are worshipping at the altar of the money god. They seek more wealth at the expense even of the very biblical principles that we should embrace and live by.
How much of an impact do you believe that the socioeconomic aspect of this matter plays in the followers that are hoping to really get rich overnight and continue to listen to this sort of hook on acquiring wealth during a short space of time, or tripling the wealth that you already have? You know, how much does what we are experiencing as a continent and as a country have to do with this cult movement and the obsession around these sort of churches?
Members are very gullible, and you will know that Africa is one of those continents which are rich, but yet its people are very poor. And therefore, the leaders of this cultic movement, you will realize that they prey on the unsuspecting attitude of their members. And in the end, they propagate the name it and claim it, whilst in essence, it is the pastors who are claiming it. Members are naming it, pastors are claiming it. And that's why you will realize that they are called to pay for services. They are called not to entrench the culture of working in our midst, work in order to earn, work in order to get rich, but faith, practice faith, and then so in a way it goes against the work ethics that we get from the Bible, because it entrenches the aspect of laziness in the process. But the leaders are getting more money, getting richer, the people are getting more poorer. And in the process, one can say there is no economic justice in the whole movement.
Sherpard Bushiri faces some serious charges, including fraud and money laundering and so forth. As we look to the court proceedings that are underway and the allegations that he stands accused of, do you believe that there are some powerful lessons to be learned there? Will it change anything in terms of his congregants and the followers, especially as we have a look at some of the comments that are made outside of that court, where irrespective of what he stands accused of, irrespective of how serious this is, we are seeing congregants who are willing to risk it all for him?
One of the basic characteristics of a cult is when you realize that people are doing what we call blind following. And this is what we are witnessing. And because they live under the spell of the leader, then you don't expect much from their side. Something needs to be done. We have to rise and start to call back people to the right gospel, not the itching ears gospel, because in that fraternity, they are sort of following the itching ear where they are promised heaven on earth. And at the same time, we see people who would even kill on behalf of their leader. So that on its own, it shows that the kind of following is not the right following. They are not following Christ, but following the man. They are not worshiping God, but worshiping the man. He has replaced, in a way, the living God in the process.
You say that some are willing to go as far as kill, but what about considering an aspect where their lives have indeed changed, and these, some speak about being depressed and coming out of it, and that they have seen some real significant changes in their lives. As we consider that aspect and really perhaps talk to the solutions that might be put to the forefront to, in fact, get people to be able to be aware of what they're going into as they worship, leaders, and realize the differences between the reality versus the fantasy, sort of, to speak.
If you are to get rich, you have to work and work hard. Go all out to work in order to amass riches. So in a way, this kind of a gospel must be discouraged, where people are sort of gunning for faith in order to get rich. And secondly, we need to teach our people that they need to be as discerning. No spirituality is true spirituality if you can't be able to discern whether this is from God or from man. And from where I sit, we have enriched this kind of prophets by this unquestioning attitude that we embrace. Whatever he says, it goes. And many people have lost their monies in the process. And we should also teach our people to be able to discern, as and when they bring money to the church, what is it for? What is its use? And in the process, they need also to discern what are the criminal activities happening in their midst. Because if you start doing some money laundering schemes, and in the process you encourage people to sell their houses, their cars, their pensions, and invest them in your scheme, there is no such a thing that money would, in fact, be able to buy money. If you are to have money, you have to work.
Thank you so much for your time. Chair of the Department of Christian Spirituality, UNISA, Professor Derrick Mashau, speaking to prosperity gospel in South Africa, the fascination around it.